President Biden says, quote, the pandemic is over, even as the White House encourages more Americans to get updated booster shots for COVID-19.
So here to answer your questions is Dr. Todd Ellerin. He's the Chief of Infectious Diseases at South Shore Health. Dr. T, it's great to see you. And as you know, a lot of people want this pandemic to be over. I'm going to flat out ask you this directly. Was the president ahead of himself, or was he right?
I think the key thing, Ed, that we have to understand is COVID-19 is not over. There are 400 to 500 people dying in the U.S. every day. It's considered the fourth leading cause of death right now in the United States. There are hundreds of thousands of cases each day. So COVID-19 is not over. Is the pandemic over? First of all, the U.S. is not in a place to decide that, right? Pandemics are global. It's based on WHO, the World Health Organization. They really decide that. And these are somewhat imprecise terms, pandemic, epidemic, endemic, but understand that there are things that go on with a declaration, which is funding and monitoring, surveillance, international collaboration. So I think it's important. One thing to remember is the U.S. still has its COVID-19 emergency plan in place. So that is still something that's functioning. So we haven't even discontinued that. I personally wouldn't have said the pandemic's over, but I do feel like it's much better. It's changed. We're going in the right direction, but we still have to deal with this. It does feel like it's more endemic. But I think there's still a lot of work to be done. The key is that COVID-19 is still here.
Doctor, fewer people are testing themselves for COVID. Even less are wearing face masks or even staying 6 feet apart compared to what we've seen in the past. So in your opinion, if people are deciding that the pandemic is over, generally, does it even matter what health officials say? I mean, you're a health official. That's a strange question to ask you, but you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's an important question. Of course, it matters, right? If we have pandemic fatigue, if communities think that the pandemic's over, it makes the public health authorities, their messaging, their recommendations that much more challenging. So Maria Helen Branswell, who's a senior infectious disease writer at STAT, wrote a great piece today. It was entitled, Is the Pandemic Over? And the answer is more art than science. And one of the experts said, thinking about a pandemic, there's physical consequences and there's psychological consequences. From a physical perspective, it doesn't look like the pandemic's over. It's still killing many people every day around the world. There are many, many cases. But from a psychological perspective, if most people think it's over around the world, that is part of when you think of something, whether the pandemic is really over or not. So it does matter. And I think overall, what's most important is that as individuals, we understand who is most vulnerable and we try to protect the most vulnerable. And when the community is feeling pandemic fatigue, it's incumbent upon that vulnerable individual to take matters into his or her hands and to make sure that they're as protected as they can be.
So Dr. T, given all of that information, many Americans have already balked at getting the booster shot, sitting at that very point that you think we might be sitting in. So there are 2 new ones that are available right now, specifically targeting the Omicron variant. So what do you want those people to know?
What I want people to know is this. The pandemic or the epidemic, or whether it's endemic in the United States, whatever you want to call it, COVID-19 is here. It's killing 400 to 500 vulnerable Americans every day. The fourth leading cause of death. We know that these vaccines will help to decrease mortality from COVID. We also know right now that the BA.5, which is one of the components of the bivalent vaccine, is well matched with what's circulating right now, which is mostly BA.5. So now is the time to go out and get the vaccine when it is well matched. I highly recommend it. And remember one more thing. This is the first coronavirus pandemic that the US and the world has ever faced. Before, we've seen this with influenza, so we know that better. But I think an ounce of humility here is important when we think about how this pandemic or epidemic is going to end. From my perspective right now, it is here and it's here to stay.
Dr. Todd Ellerin, thank you so much for your time and your expertise. Stay well, doctor. Be well.
Take care, Dr. T.
And to our viewers, if you have COVID-related questions that you would like our experts to answer, it's easy. Email them to ask@wcvb.com.
So if you